Okay, again, hot spotting. Still hot spotting. Trying to work out those issues with Xfinity. Doesn't seem to be repairing itself. Wait a minute, I gotta put the garage door down because birds and cars. So yeah, it's a little bit darker, but I'm painting out my new space, which is the garage in the house that we've rented, and I really, really love it. I mean, it's not one of the fancier places I've been in. It doesn't have the super high 18-foot, 18-foot high ceilings or the artists running up and down the hallways of a mill. It doesn't have that romanticism, but I'm pretty comfortable here. I'm productive. I've actually gotten through, I think, 10, maybe 12 canvases since mid to the end of January, which is for the size that I paint and for the time constraints I have. I'm pretty proud. I'm not coffee. So I'm pretty proud and I'm pretty happy with the production level. I wanted to address Ruby Bridges again. Excuse me while I change gears very, very abruptly and not smoothly. In the last video, I talked about Ruby and the issues I was having with her. Let's see about taking that up just a little bit so you can see the luggage and everything else we have stored in the garage. I was talking about Ruby and the issues we were having with her face being of I believe a 6-year-old, and the rest of her body being that of a 13-year-old. It really wasn't working. In the last video I showed, I had blocked out the skirt so that it was all a light beige. It was in this realm, in those stripes. And since then, as you can see, I've filled in folds, I've filled in shadowing, and she's more proportional. Let me put the camera back down again so you can see the bottom. Now, I did get a comment from one person who said, I wish you would wrap her socks around her legs so that it had more of a three-dimensional feel. But this is kind of a signature thing for me, is there's always an element of kind of a choppiness, a blockiness, again, not just, in changing gears here, but in the painting. Like, everything will be smooth and feel fine artish and almost realistic, or some of it will, and then all of a sudden there's an element of Dadaism or an element of abstract, and that's something that I really enjoy doing. I consider it a tiny bit of a signature with me. Not something I could have articulated 5-6 years ago or really took as anything other than interesting. But I think it is turned into a little bit of a signature. So she's done, and I was just down at Chasen's Gallery in Sarasota, and she'll be going down in a week or two. They've had umpteen million shows going on during season, which for Sarasota and a lot of Florida is fall through spring. So like late September, October through April. But at Mother's Day it ends. Everybody leaves because it gets very warm and humid down here. Everybody, but the people who can't leave, or the people that, just don't, whatever. People who love living here, people who can't leave, whatever. The rest of the people leave. They go, this is a little too warm, so we're escaping. It's reversed to what I've always known my entire life in the Northeast. In the Northeast, people leave in the fall when it starts to get chilly, and they come to places like this, come back in May when it starts to get warmer and the beaches are opening. It's in reverse, and it's hard for me to reconstruct and get used to. On Cape Cod, we had a 16-week window to sell artwork or to sell our goods every year. That was it. The traffic is in for 16 weeks, and you better hit it and hit it hard. And so here it's the opposite, and it's a little hard to get used to. But it's something I'm trying to acclimate to. Anyway, Ruby is going to go down because we've had a number of people stopping into Chasen's asking to see it, and it hasn't physically been there. It's been here waiting to go down, and we figured, if when we got interest, we would bring it down, and we do have a lot of interest. So she's going to go down. I just have to, oh no, I don't have to do the edges. I've already worked the edges the way I do with aerosols and a glaze. So she's ready to go. We just have to, you know, get her crap together. And, you know, Ruby was one of those paintings that I was really struggling with. I couldn't quite get it right. It was irritating me. But being in this space, a converted garage, or not a converted garage, actually a garage, with our stuff and our luggage and things, I was able to reconstruct her because I'm comfortable and happy. And the same thing has happened with Maggie. I thought I had finished her about a month ago, I can't remember, a month and a half ago, took her and put her in the done pile with Candy Dish and Vidal and all these paintings that I finished. She went in the done pile so that I could do the edges, like I showed you on Ruby with the aerosols and the glaze. And I kept pulling her out because people were stopping by and asking to see the artwork. So I'd pull her out, and she just didn't feel right. She didn't have that pop, that dimensionality that I really love. She didn't feel compelling or interesting. You know, it just felt, okay. And for me, I like to produce the most authentic and the best product, and I hate to put it that way, but it is. It's a product, the best product I possibly can. So I pulled her out, I've put her up. Right now she's up on a chair. The two canvases that make her up are up on a chair, balanced against another painting that I have to fix. And I kind of stared at her for a couple of days, and then I started working. I think one of the major issues with this painting was I didn't outline the flowers or the designs in the background. I had just done them and left them there and thought that's good enough. But I outlined them, and now they really pop. And that presented other issues that needed to be addressed. Presented other issues that needed to be addressed. One of them being her hair. I really didn't like her hair. I didn't like the paint that I had applied inside the lines of her hair. I didn't like the way it felt. It didn't feel light enough, and there wasn't enough of a contrast between the background, the flowers, and her hair. One of them needs to pop. They both can't be covered with paint and pop. So what I did was I took a piece of sandpaper, which I can't see right now, took a piece of sandpaper and sanded her right down to the black and white gesso that I apply when I start all my paintings. Never mind, I'm not pulling that out. When I start all my paintings, they're always with black and white. Always with black and white gesso. Then I go over with aerosols, put in the figure, put in some design, and then we apply oils. But with this, I had applied oil and oil and oil and oil and oil and oil. I had applied reds, I had applied teals, and it was falling kind of flat because there was no exchange, there was no conversation between the surface, between the content being her hair and the background and the surfaces or surface. So I sanded her right down to the black gesso, and then I stared at it a little while longer, went back, sanded this down, and then I sanded a few other areas down. And I sat and I looked at it, I said, okay, that's a lot more compelling, but it's still lacking. It's still lacking pop. So I pulled out 2 pieces of reference material, and usually I just work from black and white photographs, but this is one, the color image of Maggie. And I went back and I really looked at the lines on her leg. So I ended up doing exactly or almost exactly what I did with Ruby Bridges. I shaved some of the image off. I shaved a good 3/4 of an inch off her leg, pulled her knee in, reconstructed some of the folds in the pants, the leg of her pants, and boom, she started making more sense. I also have been struggling with the shirt over here, the folds in her shirt. Really kind of struggling with them and being like, nah, that'll do, that'll do, that'll do. And that's never the answer. That'll do is never the answer. So I've reconstructed her shirt a bit. Now I'm working on outlining it with a color that'll make it all pop. But it is starting to pull together because I did put in a color here that I haven't used before, or kind of a vibrant teal by Gamblin. I've applied a lighter version of it up on her head. I'm now going into her hands and applying a light teal and a couple of different blues, a cobalt blue that I really love. And I think eventually I'm going to start taking the idea of the reds and the oranges and the yellows and bringing them down further. Although in the reference material there's a stark white, I like the idea of some of it being hit with these really vibrant colors. So it doesn't look like I went, nah, that's okay, Dunny. You know, I really want to make that pop. Because when we get this down to Chasen, if we get it down to Chasen, when we get it down to Chasen, it really smacks people in the face, which I enjoy. I love it when people are like, oh my God, the colors, they glow. They're so vibrant. I've never seen anything like that, nothing abstract. Now, I was just down at Chasen's, as I said, and I said, geez, you know, things seem to be a little slow. What's going on? I said, well, again, the season, but also a couple of the paintings that they have lack this vibrancy. I did 2 small paintings, which I kind of enjoy, 2 24 by 24 inch paintings, but they're getting absolutely no reaction whatsoever. Now, I have a million people have said you should paint smaller. You should do this, you should do that, you should paint smaller, you should. And once in a while I go, okay, you're right. So I bought 2 small 24 by 24 inch canvases. I painted live on YouTube, really enjoyed them, got them done. Chasen said, do you have anything small? I brought them down, and nobody cares about them because they're actually more in blues. They're just a little bit more subdued, and they're more, I feel, a little bit more predictable. Even though the girls' faces are in blues, there's a lot of blues and teals like I like to use, they don't have this pop. They don't have this energy that people get off my paintings. They're just kind of there. So I tried to fit them on my scooter and bring them home, and I couldn't fit them on. But what we're going to do is bring them home. I'm going to sit and look at them like I did Ruby, just like I've done 100 other paintings now. See if I can punch them up. But in the meantime, we're going to bring down the larger paintings, which people really like, people respond to. I've said in other videos that I've tried to be flexible and work with galleries. And, you know, I try and do what they ask. But as it turns out, normally when people ask me to do something for them, and I'm like accommodating, and yes, the public doesn't react. So when they say be true to yourself, I'm like, dude, you know what? You got to work with people. You got to be flexible. But pretty much every single time people have said, this is our audience, this is what sells, bring this in, do this, do that. And I do it. Not that anyone has been that mean to me in a while, that abrupt. But when I said okie dokie, sales have lagged. Or, you know, they're just not getting the response that everyone would hope for. But yet, when I bring in the poppy and the large paintings, and the paintings that come from my heart, that's when we do well. So I'm 55 now. I had a birthday a little bit ago, and it's a lesson I'm still learning. But because I'm not top of the, you know, I'm not cream of the crop. I'm not one of the top artists in the world. I'm not being flown around the world. I'm not hanging out with Elton John or Ellen DeGeneres or anybody, you know, on that level. I keep going, okay, well, yeah, I'll just jump through that hoop and it'll be great. I've learned what works and what doesn't work. Now it's just learning to say, it's really not going to sell. It's really not going to. I have an experience recently where a gallerist said to me, I don't sell faces, they don't sell well. So I brought in different work, and the first thing that sold was a large face, because people respond well to my faces. People respond well to things that they don't respond to in other artists. So again, 55, learned the lesson. Now I have to learn how to say it to people, how to translate it without feeling like I'm being a diva, or having them think I'm being a diva, because that, you know, doesn't go over well. There's a lot of divas, and I don't respect any of them. But it's tough. Being an artist is a tough job. Anywho, I'm going to get back to working on Maggie, and I'm looking forward to showing you the finished product. I'm really excited about her. I went back to my local art supply store and picked up more Neil McGill because I was out, picked out a few colors that I was out of and trying to band-aid my, oh, a gecko, trying to band-aid my way through, and it wasn't working, so got them now, gonna get to work. Hopefully things will pop and I get to chase the gecko out of the garage, because he won't survive long. He won't survive long in here with my celery and peanut butter. Anyway, ciao. Button.